So first of all, Coach, thank you so much for your time today. Given that when we talk with you or Coach Marin, it's always the mid season for you. How would you kind of assess how everything has been going so far for you for this season?
Yeah, pretty good. We bring in 4 freshmen, 2 transfers, graduating 4 seniors last year, and guys that were occupying a lot of the starting lineup time. 2 guys that qualified to the NCAA regional, guys that have won golf tournaments for us. So taking a lot of age and experience out, and bringing in a lot of talent and youth, and just trying to, college golf starts week 1. You show up, there's not really a whole lot of time to coach. You just have to go perform right away, and you take what you get. And we got some young guys, and I think we got a lot of good experience this fall, and people got their feet wet and looking forward to a good spring.
Speaking of with those young guys with new experience, one of those players that I've noticed make quite the impact in terms of that has been Garrett Ebert. Despite a little bit of a hiccup at the end at Fallen Oak, he's had quite the fall. Can you tell me a little bit about like what you've seen from him this fall and over this off season, and what do you think we could maybe expect from him this spring?
Yeah. Garrett was the first guy we committed in the class. He was a really tall, long, athletic guy with a lot of speed. We really liked him right from the get-go, local kid. And then kind of went through a little bit of ups and downs after his commitment here of tournament golf and some swing technique stuff. And he got with a different golf instructor and really kind of shored some things up. And it was about a 10-month process that he had worked with this new instructor kind of coming into his freshman year. And it just kind of all clicked right when he got here. And it was pretty amazing. He would go out even in our qualifying rounds and make a big number on the first hole and then make 8 birdies, and then come out the next round and make a big number on the second hole and make 7 birdies, and showed a lot of emotional maturity through our qualifying process and in tournament play. And I was just really impressed with the physical transformation of his golf swing since his commitment, and handling kind of the ups and downs of golf. You can have an imperfect hole and still have a really good day, and he showed that throughout the fall.
Well, what else stands out to you about this freshman class? Because I noticed that Cy and Hans and Mark, like they haven't got. I don't think they've gotten as much playing time as Garrett has, but I believe I remember seeing their names pop up at least once.
Right. So from a standpoint of that they're all really talented guys, and there's only so much room in the starting lineup. If you had followed Hans Risver coming in, he won the Western Junior, which is one of the nation's biggest junior events, late in the summer in his, coming into his freshman year, finished the junior golf scoreboard ranking number 11 in junior golf, the number 1 player in Florida of all the classes. So he's a very, very talented guy. He's an amazing student, very bright, very intelligent. And then when you mention Mark Keller, my opinion is Mark probably would have played all of the events. But unfortunately for us, Switzerland asked Mark to play in the World Amateur at a last minute. So he missed the Big 12 match play and Fallen Oak to represent his country, I believe, over in Dubai, to play in the World Amateur. So I think we would have seen him in all 4 events in the fall, if not for that situation. That had come up the year before with the World Amateur, but with Johnny Travale and Canada hadn't given us notice, we were able to not play on that week. With Mark's situation, unfortunately, Switzerland didn't give us any notice, and it was a last-minute thing, and we had him go play in that event, so he missed a couple for us, but I plan on him being with us a lot this spring. So now you talked about Cy Norman. Cy performed very, very well. Had a tough first qualifier. We played starting 5 and 3 individuals in the first tournament, and he went out and had himself a really, really nice first tournament in the individual spot up at Island Resort. But then kind of throughout the qualifying rounds, didn't have as much to get himself back into tournaments. But, you know, the adjustment freshman year, first semester is always difficult. And, you know, we got a guy who's on the European tour now, Manuel Elvira, and he barely played for us his first semester freshman year on a decent team, but not one of our better teams. And he turned out to be one of our better players in school history.
So to sort of kind of counter at now talking about the new kids on the new kids on the block with the freshmen, you have your elder statesman now in Igor Eroshenko, and looking through the roster based on people that played for UCF last year, Igor seems to be like the one player returning that has like at least a wealth of experience to choose on. I know Chase saw a little bit of time last year, but Igor seemed to be like that one guy with that is kind of the elder statesman group. How has he been kind of taking that, and how has he been doing as far as the fall? Because I noticed that on Spike Mark he's your highest ranked player at 400.
Yeah, you know, Igor has been with us for 4 years now, and in his senior year, he missed that first semester due to COVID and a I-20 visa issue with Russia, but got in, you know, January of that spring. And it's great having a guy that's been with us, knows the golf courses, knows the expectations, knows the structure of practice. He's been a great leader for us. Qualifying scores at home have just been absolutely outstanding. I think ballparking here in the fall semester, I think he was about 20 under par or so throughout all the rounds we played. And some of that translated into some pretty good tournament play. And, you know, golf has its ups and downs. So he had some great performances and some okay performances. But just to have him around the young guys, around the transfers to kind of set the foundation and you know, it's like having another coach with you when that guy's got that much experience.
Speaking of transfers, you ended up hitting the portal twice over the off season, picking up Jacob Stabhaug and Gustav Anderson. What was it like recruiting the both of them, and what made you decide to hit the transfer portal in the first place?
Yeah, and I think the transfer portal piece was crucial for us only from the standpoint of bringing in 4 freshmen. That's a lot of youth. And when we talked about Igor being kind of the only upperclassman with some playing experience, you know, Jakob Stabhaug comes in as the NAIA individual national champion a year ago. He's a multiple time winner in his division in college golf, you know, got 2 years of tournament experience under his belt. Again, another absolutely outstanding academic weapon. So that guy just, you know, brings someone in with a winning pedigree, someone who's a good student. And then Gustav Anderson, who is at Texas Tech, as high as I think 141 in the world amateur ranking at his best, a super powerful player, a club head speed of 125 miles an hour with the driver. So possesses a lot of physical strength, really good wedge player, really good putter. So we thought with 4 freshmen, you know, adding a couple of guys with some college experience, you know, Gustav comes in with a Division I college win. I just thought that was the right balance to put together some youth, you know, and some experience, even if it wasn't our experience here, some guys that, you know, kind of like the old coach, got a couple of gray hairs.
Mm-hmm. True. Very true. Very true. So who would you say that then, because you also have like returners now from I mentioned Chase Hager a minute ago. You also have Tom Stevens, Cooper Tate, and Nicholas Estrada coming back. How have they been doing over the off season, and what do you think we could expect to see from them? Like of this, I know we saw a little bit of playing time from I think Chase at some point, but what do you think we could end up seeing from them in the spring?
Yeah, again, golf is a really cyclical sport. If you watch players on tour, they'll have kind of good runs, and sometimes it's typical that they do it every year at that same time. It's something with their body. It's something with the type of golf courses they play. as I mentioned to you, that Manuel Elvira who played for us and didn't really play in the fall of his freshman year, and then I believe won an event in his spring of his freshman year. So there's the horses for courses, there's seasons, there's playing on different grass. We went north and played on bent grass, and now you talk about Chase, you talk about Nicholas, Cooper Tate, you got Florida guys with Bermuda grass experience. So you never know how golf plays out. It's hard to see. We've had some guys go out and Chase Haygood's played a bunch of off-season tournament golf, which I'm really proud of. He's played well. Nicholas Estrada, I believe, has played once. So we've got some guys doing some work, and it's a build up. They'll get to play against each other and practice a little bit, and we'll get the tournament schedule started.
When you look back at the fall schedule, you ended up having to actually leave the state, I believe, for all of them, if I'm not mistaken. The Sea Island Bearcat, the Big 12 match play, Fallen Oak. What was it like to do that? And when you look back at the fall, at the kind of the results from the fall, what does that kind of tell you about this team?
So the results from the fall, and in my opinion, I think you just look at it on paper, it's not strong enough. I think we got 7 wins and 34 losses, but unfortunately lost Jakob Stubhag week 1 to an L4 stress fracture in a vertebrae. And then, like I said, the Big 12 match play in the Fallen Oak tournament, Mark Keller, Jakob is the number 1 world amateur ranked player on the team. And then Mark Keller was the number 2 world amateur ranked player on the team. And for him to miss the Big 12 match play in Fallen Oak, we were certainly, for being young, we were certainly down a little bit with what I expected for a competition in qualifying and to make you better for tournaments. So from what I've seen, we've gotten healthy. We've got guys who have gone out. Like Jakob's gone through his healing process and back playing. We ended up having a surgery, an abdominal surgery for a player. So we've just had some injuries this fall, which were unexpected. And like I said, we had a guy miss 2 tournaments, which was unexpected. So I think getting the whole group back together, having everyone healthy, and now we're on our turf. We're just driving 2 to 3 hours for the first 3 tournaments, and it's convenient, easy travel, and it's typical weather of what we're dealing with, typical grass surfaces of what we're dealing with. So my expectation is that they're going to do a really good job.
Yeah, I was going to say, the spring schedule, has practically everything in the southeast, depending on how you define North Carolina as southeast, for the spring. So I was going to ask, going into the spring, does that kind of give you some more confidence, since the travel times, at least until the Big 12 championship, are going to end up a little more reduced?
Yeah, I think that just helps with, it's like you see a lot with NFL football. Teams playing at home tend to win a lot. And when you're not traveling a lot, you're not changing time zones. But the important piece for us is we go out and do that travel in the fall to play on different surfaces, to play in different climates, to play in different altitudes, because there are 6 regional sites. And if you're lucky enough to qualify, the chances of you getting plopped and staying in the southeast are not good. We spend the majority of our time, what seems like, on the West Coast in the regional championship trying to get to nationals. So I think just getting out and seeing different places, learning how to travel, learning how to be on the road away from home, I think is super important to your success at the end of the year.
So Speaking of you are going to have to travel out to Texas for the Big 12 championship. You got a chance to kind of preview the competition a little bit at the Big 12 match play. What was it like to kind of get a glimpse of your new conference mates at that match play tournament? What was it kind of like to kind of compete with these Big 12 players that you're going to have to compete against again later on this year in April?
Again, maybe as a coach from a different sport, I would tell you it was something new. But if you're following our team, we played Texas and Oklahoma State, last spring at Augusta. We would host Texas at our home tournament. We play Texas Tech. We're competing against Big 12 teams, and we have been since the start of me being the coach here 15 years ago. So our sport has always been travel the country and play the best programs in the country. It hasn't been play in the American Conference. So as we play the Big 12 championship, we've been competing with those programs, like I said, for the last 15 years at a regular clip. So it's really nothing new for me as a coach, and the talent level in this league is absolutely outstanding. I think you got maybe 4 of the last 6 national champion programs, I believe, come out of the Big 12. So we know it's a great league. We know the competition is great. The job the league did, at Houston Oaks for the Big 12 match play, the tournament was just outstanding. Great venue, run very, very, very well. All the coaches very professional. Just a great experience. And then, we'll go back and play a regular format of stroke play. The match play thing it's how we finish our national championship, but only 8 teams played at the end of the year. We're traditionally used to playing stroke play, and we'll get to see those teams in that format, as we play that conference championship.
One thing I noticed with the schedule, you do have obviously your time in Florida this spring, but I noticed one of your other Florida tournaments you've normally put on wasn't on the schedule at Iowa. What's it like to have a schedule where you end up not having a home tournament?
Yeah, the not having the Isleworth tournament this year, in case you're unaware, is Isleworth is going through a complete course renovation. So they have an irrigation system that's off-site, and they're bringing it on-site. And then their grass of their golf course is going to be completely resurfaced. So they're in a construction process where they are redoing their entire facility. So that was the reason for not hosting a home event this fall. And we're sort of hopeful that once they get that construction process done, we'll go back to doing that. But you would certainly, as a coach, love to host an event and have a home field advantage once a year, as most programs seem to do. But, in our situation, it was different where we didn't have that. And it'll probably be one more year till we're able to restart the event, if they're willing to do it once their grass is in and their construction is done. But it's a week where it's nice to be at home. But you're so used to traveling every week on the road all year in this sport that, it's not all that different.
Who among your team do you think is in store for a really great spring?
I can be honest with you. I don't know the answer to that. We finished up, October 17th, and we have been shut down since then. We've had some guys ask for some individual instruction and came out and worked with me at the practice center. We had some guys play some off-season events. I'll have a better handle on that in about 7 days. We start practice on Monday morning, and the flag goes up, and we'll start playing some evaluation rounds, and I'll get a chance to see who's fresh and who's ready and who's prepared to go. But I've certainly seen a lot of good stuff from a lot of guys. I've seen people working hard. The large majority of our team has been out competing in tournaments. Garrett Everett's playing in the College X tournament today. Igor Eroshenko competes in the First Coast Amateur next week. Hans Risver starts in the Jones Cup today. So we've got guys kind of all over playing, prepping, getting ready for the season. And I'll have a better look at that when I see them. But this time of the year is kind of a hands-off thing with the coaches. We let the guys go home, regroup, spend some time with their family. And like I said, I'll know more about that in a week or so.
Golf is a really interesting college sport to follow, like similar to tennis in a way where the season pretty much never stops in some way. There's always kind of something going on. Like in the fall, they have, whether it's professional competitions or not professional, but like amateur competitions that aren't affiliated with NCAA action, and then you have NCAA action, and then of course that NCAA action for golf takes place throughout the entire year instead of just or one semester. It's like a 2-semester sport. What's it like to kind of coach a 2-semester sport like that? Do you end up treating the fall and the spring separately, or all one season, or how do you kind of approach that?
For me, you kind of look at it as almost like a periodization process. You get the athletes in, and typically, let's say this was last year, I knew the crux of Johnny and Luis and Igor and Clement Charmason and the guys that are playing, where for me, this was really a learning process with 6 new faces. Trying to figure out who's who, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what are they working on in their game. At the same time, we're competing. So this is, like I said, it's a really, really new year for me in figuring that out. So you kind of do that in the fall. You kind of figure out what their strengths were. For me, I do give them a little bit of free time in November, December, invite them out to work with me if they want to, and had some players take some really good advantage of that and make some improvements. And then you're kind of working on those same technical things as you start the spring semester. And once we kind of get playing, it's a lot of golf in a row, and hopefully you've evaluated them properly, coached the right things in, and then you see them just start to get in that playing mode and start to go.
You have developed over your quite a long time here. This will be your 15th season, if I'm not mistaken, here in Orlando, of sending at least someone to represent UCF at the regional, if not the team, then an individual like Johnny or Lewis. So essentially, what do you think that this team or someone on your team needs to do between now and the end of this season to perhaps continue sending athletes to NCAA tournament, NCAA regionals?
Such an easy answer. It's kind of a win and loss factor. We have our team record and they have their individual record. You mentioned Igor at, I think he's at 400 in the Spike Mark ranking, and he's our top ranked player. It's going to take about 200 in that ranking to get yourself into the regional. So everyone on our team needs to go out and play well and create more of a win to loss ratio. You play so many players every week. You play 80, 90 guys a week. So if you were to just happen to have a couple of good weeks in a row, you could pile up 150 wins, in 2 weeks, and that could just jump your ranking up immensely. We've only played 3 stroke play events. So our rankings our team ranking, everything about our team can really move forward very quickly, based on how much tournament golf we have to play and how much head-to-head competition there is. But it's simple. They just have to go out and get more wins than losses. We're playing quality fields. We're playing quality opponents. And that's what goes into that ranking and elevates their standard.
Speaking of SpikeMart, I know we kind of mentioned SpikeMart this entire time. Brand new ranking software for this college golf season, and I remember over the course of the early times it was a little bit finicky, but now they seem to have kind of gotten a handle on it. And I gotta say, looking at it, the user base is quite fun. But what was it like going through that early part of the season where the scoring software ended up being a little finicky?
Yeah, all the unknown. We didn't know what our ranking record was. We didn't know what another team's ranking record was. We went to our first tournament at the Island Resort, and they went for paper scoreboards and an Excel spreadsheet to put everything together. One of our former assistant coaches, Dave Ellis, just an unbelievable guy, intelligent, great with Excel, and just hammered this thing out and put everything together. But they were doing paper and pen on a scoreboard, and that was the only results that they took. So you didn't even know in the middle of the day on the 36-hole day, where you were. We shot, I think it was even par, a couple under par in the first round, and I didn't know if that was good or bad. And in previous years, 4 and 6 and 8 under had won the event. This year, 30 under won, but you don't even know what to tell your team is, hey, I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're doing. Just keep going, which isn't a bad perspective, but it kind of grew. And then we got to the Bearcat. They went back and used Golf Stat, and then we had some scoring, and that went better. And Fallen Oak did an absolutely outstanding job with their system, live scoreboards, a bunch of video stuff. And so it just got better. And now I believe a company named Clipped has taken over for Spike Mark. The original owner has kind of stepped aside now, and they've got a company that's a little bit more into this golf business, kind of helping to run it. I think there's still a lot of confusion going on with where it is, but again, it's with anything new, there's growing pains, and they will figure it out. They're a smart organization.
So speaking of in their team rankings, you got your team ranking is currently at 158 going in. I know you mentioned that I know you mentioned you only had 3 stroke play events in the fall. Like, do you feel like that maybe that this is a mark of like just not of not playing as much in the fall, or at least playing more events in the spring than you do in the fall?
Yeah, let's be honest about it. We earned 158 ranking because of our performance. We have 7 wins and 34 losses, and there's only one person to look at, and that's me and the team. I mean, that's our organization needs wins and losses. And I mentioned to you, we're super young. We've got loads of talent, but it's like the first week you go into a new job. You know, you don't know where the bathroom is. You don't know where the hallways are. You don't know how to get down all the halls and all the buildings. When you got 4 freshmen and 2 transfers, figuring all that out here at UCF, learning Isleworth, Lake Nona, Bay Hill, Shingle Creek for practice, and then learning new courses. Everything's so new, it's a bit of a shock to the system. So I'm not disappointed, nor am I worried about kind of how the fall played out. I know they're factored in, Spike Mark is factored in the match play, and we took 5 losses in that. We didn't win a match, and they're actually talking about taking that out of the ranking now. And if they do that, we jump up immensely in the rankings, and match play's never been in the rankings before. So I'm not even sure our ranking is really our ranking right now. That still is up to the committee to change that. But I'm really proud of our guys. They've with some defeat, they've had a great attitude, been a good work ethic. I think they're an outstandingly talented group of young men, and I think they're going to do much better as we move forward.
Considering all the new faces on the team, that also kind of extends the coaching staff as well. Last month you brought on your new assistant coach, Will Hurt. What's it been like bringing him on, and what's it like having to hiring an assistant coach in some ways when you look at how college golf plays out, one could argue it's mid-season.
Yeah, that was the thing is Cameron Peck ended up leaving here and going to Houston. He spent a year with us, and the guy that hired him away from us was the guy that recruited him to Texas A&M. So they had a really special bond with Jonathan Dismuke, and went to work there. Cameron was very loyal, great employee here, helped us a ton. I had a very, very short window to try and if about getting a job and hiring and vetting someone and then moving them here and getting started. We really just didn't have enough time. So I coached the entire fall myself. And then as soon as the fall semester was over, we got into that hiring process. We did interviews. Really fortunate to hire William. He comes from James Madison University. He's the first guy that I've ever gotten to hire that has college coaching experience. He's coached at a lower level and had a National Assistant Coach of the Year award, and then went to James Madison as the assistant coach where his grandfather was the former head coach. So family lineage there, and I know he really loved it. And it came very well recommended from some coaches that I knew in Division I and another coach at Division II that I had worked with before on the coaching staff. So just vetted him and he's finally through the move, kind of gotten here just in the last few weeks and gotten set up and is out doing some recruiting for us down at the Junior Orange Bowl right now. And just seems like a team builder, a great personality, a great guy. And we're excited to see him with the team as we're excited to see the team on Monday. It'll be our first time to all be together.
You mentioned that you coached the entire fall yourself. Are you able to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's hard. You're talking about 11 athletes. You're talking about golf instruction, which is not, we don't line up 11 on 11 and coach the offense. It's a one-on-one personal time spent instructional piece. It's if I choose to walk with Mark Keller for 18 holes, that means I abandon the other guys on the team for 18 holes. If I stand on one hole and coach a par 3 and coach the 5 guys, I'm really limiting myself in how much I can help one player have a better round, maybe to just coach a few hard holes better. Where if you can put 2 coaches out on a golf course and you can put 2 coaches in on practice and you can put 2 coaches in on recruiting, 2 coaches in on office paperwork and team travel, boy, I got a few extra gray hairs this fall.
Yeah, no, yeah. Hearing that as someone that ended up actually took some golf lessons over the fall. There was like only maybe like what 10 or 12, like 10 of us at one lesson, and we had one instructor, and seeing her going back and forth through all of us, I can't imagine what that's like on a D1 level. So I'm guessing that it's nice to kind of have that assistant back for the spring then.
I got to be honest with you, I couldn't be happier. Yeah, I was so happy for Cameron. The timing of it wasn't great for us, but it was a great thing for him. And like I said, his loyalty as a person, how hard he worked for us. This is just part of the business. And had it happened earlier in the year where it did for Emerson in previous years, I had plenty of time to then hire Cameron. It was what it was. And I had to kind of take it on the chin and do my absolute best with it. And we did that. And now we're, for UCF, we're at a full staff of 2, and we'll have a lot more hands on deck to help the kids.
Let's see how I word this. What is the best way you want to approach this spring? Like how does the kind of the fall end up kind of, I guess in a sense, motivate you guys going into the spring?
Well, I'm always motivated as a coach. We are coaches, and we live and die in success, whether it is in our academic pursuits, which we did a fantastic job in, whether it is in fundraising, which are things we need to do to survive as a program, and whether it is wins and losses. If you're a coach, you're competitive. I can't speak to each player on my team and how it looked to them. I know I saw some guys that when they saw only 7 wins, they were motivated to improve. Mark Keller talked about it a lot. I've heard different stuff from different people where, they're ready to get going and they're ready to go out and prove themselves. So it's an individual thing. Again, it's a sport where you don't take the diamond together. You don't go out on the football field together. You don't take the soccer pitch together and go. You get out on the golf course. You all separate. You go in your separate ways, and you come in and you hand in your work. So that personal motivation, it shows in who went to practice in the off season. It shows in who went to get instruction in the off season. It shows in who went to play in tournament golf in the off season. And then you're going to see the results of that very, very fast at the end of January for us. We're going to see who was hungry and who got better.
All right, awesome. Well, best of luck during those spring matches, Coach, getting underway right at the end of this month in Ponte Verde, and then Gainesville, and then back to Ponte Verde again with the Hates. So best of luck this spring, and
thank you,
and best of luck in a new conference championship.
Appreciate it, and thanks so much for covering the team. I know how much the guys appreciate it.